Warning, the following content may contain elements that aren't suitable for certain audiences. Viewers' discretion is advised. Welcome to another episode of the Unpressables. I'm your host, former professional football player and BBC Total Sport Squad Goals co-host, Calvin Andrew. If you're new here, I've created this channel for people to be able to pick up a bit of free game and insight into what it takes to be exceptional in your field. I want it to be able to help people maximize their full potential of the mind and body and understand the variables that can define excellence. Without further ado, today's guest, Burnley Player of the Year 2017, 2018 and 2019-2020, PFA Team of the Year 2019-2020, Premier League Save of the Month, August 2020 and January 2023. There's a lot to go through here. England and Newcastle #1 GK, Mr. Nick Pope. How are we doing, bro?
Oh, good. I've never had that one. I've never had them before. I feel like I'm at the darts or something. So, yeah, appreciate that. It's nice to know that.
Hey, I'm just telling you.
It's nice to know I've achieved a couple of things.
Hey, you've got a list that's building nicely.
Getting that.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on first and foremost, giving me your time. You're at the training ground presently, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, obviously been to Germany for a week and Tokyo for a week, so good to be back home. Good to be back home.
And first of all, to be fair, Popey, what I need to address, because it does my absolute boxing, your height.
Yeah. There's a lot of false information out there, and I hear about it every week. So it's kind of good things. It surprises people, so I'll take it.
It probably is a good thing. Like, yeah. They're like, is Popey the same height as you? Because I'm 6'3". The internet says I'm 6'2", mind you. Yeah. But yours is disproportionate. So what height? You're like 6'6".
Yeah, I'm like close to 6'6", and like I think I was at 191, and then like so in centimeters I'm like 199 actually. Close to 199. So
whose scout report that is? I don't
know, but like obviously you have a picture before the game, and I'm like stood next to Dan Burn, and like he's a little bit bigger. So surely someone must be. I don't know. Just edit it a little bit, make it a little bit closer to the truth, but we're not there yet.
You would have thought so. I can't believe no one's changed that. Like you say, teams must get a surprise when, like, oh yeah, he's not going to come for corners. He's only 6'3". I think he's a bit bigger than that.
Yeah, I think like obviously in a tunnel's a good thing, and like sometimes I'll meet people, and like when you sat down like for the first time, or you meet people and you sat down, and you stand up to like shake hands or whatever, and it's just every time it's like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And I was like, oh yeah, it's just like I say, if it's I don't know how we've got to this point, but it's like 191 and like mid-70s in kilos, and I think the last time I was mid-70 in kilos was, I don't know, early teens probably.
Because I think my weight is still on there as something like 8 kg. I've never weighed that. I've been 95 plus for the majority of my career. So yeah, the information needs to be changed. I hope somebody's listening that's got access to that. First and foremost, how's pre-season going? Do keepers run in pre-season or no? Like, because I know back we're with the players.
Yeah, I don't know if it's changed at every club, but I've not done too much running, if I'm honest, for the last few years. Actually, stretching back to Burnley as well. So not part of the run club. So probably one of the times of years where the outfield players look at the goalies and like, I wish you get that one quite a lot. Oh, I wish I was a goalie. You lot have it easy, like. Look at us, we're slogging ourselves, and like obviously sometimes in training you'll play a five-a-side or you do a drill or whatever, and then the lads will go off and run for like 90 seconds or like 3 minutes in between, and we just stand and watch. you just see the hatred like from across the pitch, and you're sorry lads, like. But then when it gets to the middle of winter and we're stood still, like, it swings and roundabouts.
I'm just going to say swings and roundabouts. When it gets to the middle of winter and the pitches are frozen and you're diving on them and scars and
never gets a mention then. Never gets a second thought.
Nobody wants to be a goalkeeper in the winter, let's be completely honest. Coming off the back of a shoulder injury, how's that going?
Yeah, going well. I think I've had great staff around me for it, 'cause it's always difficult and a long road right from the moment it happens. I think I got turned around for surgery in a week, and then it's going to be a long period. So I feel like fortunate that I had great staff around me, and obviously other players and manager. So a lot of support, because however you swing it, it's a difficult period for sure.
Yeah, I think sort of looking back through my career, which I had so many bad career-threatening injuries, 3 cruciate ligaments, and one of them, a complete avulsion of my whole knee and all that kind of stuff. And they were saying that I may never play football again. Mindset-wise, I know how I dealt with it. How difficult is it for people watching and listening today? If you could explain, how difficult is that?
Yeah, obviously you kind of world gets flipped upside down. You're used to training every day, and you spend time with the lads, and obviously going to the meetings with everyone, and then traveling with everyone, and then all of a sudden you're obviously on the table getting your surgery. You're out of surgery, and then you're starting your rehab. I think the first thing you're thinking about is, I just want to get back to being like a normal human again, because you're in a sling, like.
Yeah.
Everything's difficult. Like, can't cut your own food. You can't, like, showering's nightmare. Getting your clothes on and off, like everything, because you're so disabled on your one side. And I think mentally, you obviously know that it's a long road ahead. But I suppose you try and think of the good things and what could come, and what gives you the best chance of having the best outcome. I think that's how I try to look at it, especially in the early days when. There was a few. You get different advice from different quarters, and people saying, have a week off, get yourself away from it, or have a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there." But I just wanted to just keep going. Basically, I wanted to kind of start and just get in that mindset where I had a good routine. I was consistent. Give yourself time to. I don't want to say feel sorry for yourself, but give yourself time to have a realization of kind of what's happened. And then, like I say, kind of get into that routine of what's going to get yourselves back, and when you get back, going to give yourself the best chance, really.
Yeah, it is extremely difficult to go through. I used to think of, sometimes when you sort of hit a bit of a brick wall in your mindset, where you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I'm going to get back to what I was before. Have you ever had any of those moments, and how have you been able to sort of overcome mindset-wise?
Yeah, of course. You go through stages in your rehab where you feel like, am I moving forward here? Is it going to get better? Is this going to change? Am I going to be you start? It sounds bizarre. You start lifting weights, and I remember lifting like a 1 kg dumbbell for a chest press. And you're thinking. Then the next week you may be lifting 1.5 or 2, and you're thinking normally it should be mid-30s, or 30, or that is something around normal. Obviously, your normal side, my good side, as it was, or my non-surgical side, was still able to do that.
Yeah.
So in your head, you're just thinking, is it going to come, or when's it going to come? And then obviously you're thinking all these things. You look at the clock, it's a Tuesday, and 2 hours have gone by in a day, and you've got another 6 to go, and you feel like it's going to be a never-ending week. So there are a lot of points like that, I feel like, during it, where you just have to realise that you need time. That's something that however good your routine is, or whatever you do, you just need time. So obviously it's difficult to realise there's nothing you can really do about that, but you got to realise that keep doing the right things for enough days, keep kind of building the bricks, and then nice to kind of, when you think about them stagnant periods where you didn't really improve, when you do, you kind of get to look back and go, I remember when we were doing the same exercises for 3 weeks and nothing seemed to change.
Yeah.
And you wake up in the morning and you go in and it's like, it's the same as yesterday. And that gives you a boost when you kind of get over that hump, I'd say.
Yeah, I think for me, looking back at some of the like I said, some of the injuries that I had that were career threatening for me, I was quite fortunate to have a really good support system around, and obviously the physio and people around you as well, but also my family were a big part of it. My parents are fantastic with stuff like that. They have living their own experiences. They kind of know how to help in those moments, navigate those times where you're just not sure. Because people forget in football, like you said, when you do become injured like that and you can't play, your life does completely. You've gone from being an elite athlete, being able to do certain things that maybe other people can't, to now not being able to do just the basic things as you explained there. Do you think it changes your perspective when you come through an injury like that?
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to say let you take it for granted, but you do
You
get
do.
yeah, you probably do. Even the basic things. So my routine before I was injured might be come in, you have breakfast, and you sit with the lads, have a chat around the table. It might be 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then at lunch you do gym together. At lunch you have to sit down, have a chat, and talk about the game that you've just played together, or stuff that's happened on the weekend, or just anything really. And then I got into a stage where I was coming in breakfast. You in and out what would be done because you got to start your day because you got all these rehab exercises to do, all this treatment to have, like everything to give yourself the best opportunity. And then lunch comes around and you're like, I want to be in and out in 10 minutes. So you just see, like, I just saw food as like, I need it to like survive. But like, if I sit in there for 45 minutes, I'm getting home 45 minutes later. And that means you like sat down 40 minutes and you probably stiffen all up and you motivation might go, or like you just want to boom, like in, out and get going again. Cause there's another mountain of stuff to do kind of afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah, things like that I desperately missed really. Obviously being on the pitch with lads because you don't have that anymore. And then like you say, like your days are longer and you're not training. It's a hard thing to kind of get your head around. And then obviously because of the injuries like that, you're either in the physio room or in the gym. Like you have a lot of period where you're not even outside. Like I probably had the first 3 months where I wouldn't go outside. So the lads would come in and do like pre-activation before training, and I'd be in there doing something, and then they'd come in after training, and I'd still be in there, and
Be
they'd
there.
be looking at me going, "You're still here," and I was like, "Well, yeah." Just like unroll the sheet of like just things that I was trying to getting through. So obviously they're like a couple of the kind of demoralising things. Although I feel like my teammates and obviously the playing staff supported me greatly. Like you just don't have the time, and you just things you massively miss really.
Yeah, and I guess for your injury now as well, knowing a lot of players have been through that, there must be still rehab stuff you have to now incorporate to your everyday sort of
Yeah, of course, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's changed my every day really, but obviously we didn't even talk about the match day and actually playing a game that you did get to do, and now you're not going you're not going to be able to do it for the next 4 or 5 months. So that's just another thing on top really. But yeah, it's something that mentally is just a massive challenge. But I think you try and break it down to small steps, and you realise that's a reality, your new reality, and you kind of doing yourself now what's going to be best for yourself in the future, and thinking that's where you'll get back to.
I guess it's, as you mentioned there, it's sort of part mentalizing it, that you break it down into portions in which you can navigate through sort of the next 20 days and then 20 days after that, rather than looking at the longer picture thinking, well, I'm not
Yeah,
going to 5 months. That can be difficult for a lot of players know that get injured. This is a good way for them to be able to come in here, listen to that, and think, right, this is the way I probably should approach it. It's not all doom and gloom, even though it seems like it at the moment for the
yeah.
podcast. But how difficult was it for you missing sort of the back end of Newcastle season, and then also missing the Euros as well? Because no doubt you would have been played a part in it, if not been in goal.
Uh, yeah, the maddest way, because I'd been doing so much rehab and like so obviously the long days, like you feel like you're in the building all the time. It wasn't massively in my head because I wanted just to, for starters, I wanted to have no sling for start, and then I wanted to obviously you want to live your life where you feel like you can drive your car and you don't need help, like, so because you go to that like low level of expectation or low level of what you actually want, then when it like comes around to like start training again, maybe in like April, you're like buzzing to be back training, and like you're obviously thinking about playing for Newcastle and like showing the gaffer and showing the staff that you're kind of ready to play. So then when it got to the end of the season, I only played the last game, but I kind of felt like I had such a journey that not getting to Euros kind of wasn't the be all and end all for myself, because I know I'd given so much and like sacrificed so much for that kind of period of time that the Euros would have been, you know, another sacrifice where I kind of saw it as not a blessing in disguise, but because it wasn't, I did really want to go, but a kind of a chance to really nail down my rehab and to work to get back for obviously the start of this season, and because I was obviously fit and training, but to like double down on my rehab and make myself as strong as possible. So it's just something that I missed out on, but something I also saw as an opportunity to make myself kind of better for this season and the future.
It could have been like one step too far.
But yeah, possibly. Like I say, like if I would have gone, I would have been happy. I would have been obviously delighted to go. But obviously, your own realization, I'd only play one game. So I'm sure if I'd have gone, like it would have been a good experience, and I still would have been able to work on myself. But I felt like you're a squad player, and you're part of the squad, and you're part of the team. So you got to give yourself to that. Where obviously they obviously took away from me. I didn't have to worry about that. I could just concentrate on myself, and yeah, that's why I kind of feel in a good spot now. I think because I've had all that work that was done kind of in the off season, off the back of my rehab, and then carried on into this pre-season.
I think a mantra that you live by, that I've lived by, is quite a good takeaway on this, and you live by the words or learn.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's something I've always thought, and I always try to project that on people around me as well. In this sort of scenario where you've had to go through all of this sort of turmoil and injury and stuff like that, what would you say you've learned from this experience?
Good question. I think the having the routines is massive, and obviously not setting mad goals, maybe like small goals and hitting them, and not kind of getting too low with the lows, even though they're going to be lows and there's going to be good days. You just got to kind of, the consistency I think is massive. Like however good one day's going, you got to realise that, you know, the next day might not be as good, or however bad one day is going, the next day, you know, probably won't be as bad. But consistently, you've got to put in the hours. Basically, I think that's where I was lucky here. Like the staff that I had helping me was constant, and it was. I mean, Steve Mixon, a lot of days we'd be the last ones kind of in the building just on our own, and he'd be absolutely torturing me. But look back on them times now and kind of can laugh about it a bit. But at the time, obviously, it does feel like torture, but I think that will always outweigh kind of, oh, I'm having a good day today, I'll do half hour more.
Yeah.
Or I'm having a bad day today, let's go home at lunch. I always think just consistently put the time in, set your kind of your day, and just you know, fly through it and go through it, and good or bad, you realise that, you know, it's a step
in the right direction. I've always been a firm believer of habits.
habits. 100%.
Creating consistency in what you're doing will always lead to some form of success. I think I look back through career, the injuries probably early for 17, doing a career at 17. I had to get into those habits of doing the right all the time, and it's something that's with me now. Even when I've stopped playing football, I still wake up in the morning, I still go through all my same rehab exercises with my pre, and it's kept me in, you know, fantastic shape, to be honest. But it's something I had to learn, and it came from me being injured so often, I guess, is a way of putting it. away from all of that kind of stuff into sort of more of the nicer stuff, shall we say? Earth did you decide to? When did you decide you were going to be a goalkeeper?
I don't know if most goalies are kind of thrown in, but I was definitely thrown in because I have a brother that's 3 years older than me, and he used to go down the park and play
Yeah.
in the village, and all of a sudden I was just about old enough to like be allowed to kind of go with him. And then you get there and you're with like, I don't know, say 10 kids and they're all older than you. So you're just thrown in, like you are just, they can hit the ball harder than anyone you've ever seen in your life, but you're just thrown in as like a dummy almost. And like my brother was a goalie himself, so when I first started watching football, like amateur football, like or just obviously watching him and supporting him, if I was 5 and he was 8 starting, I just saw him in goal. So I kind of naturally kind of fell into it a little bit like that, I feel like.
Interesting one. You just hopefully in there, and then they realised you were half decent.
And then it's like, you just keep going. And then obviously you realise that when you're in goal, you don't have to run too much. And I don't think I was a great runner, so it just suited me, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you became a goalkeeper through sheer laziness. Is that what you
Yeah,
tried
a little bit. And obviously, as I grew up, I was getting like longer and longer. So I was like, yeah, it's working out okay. I'm growing into it.
work it out? As speaking to players, well, not even speaking to players, speaking to people that often understand things about how to play football and the subtle nuances in being a player. Being a goalkeeper is completely different, isn't it?
I think so. I'd like to say so. Obviously, you train differently. A lot of the time, you're kind of away from the group and your goalkeeper group. There's just different requirements physically. There's different requirements mentally. So it's almost like, I don't want to say it's a new sport, but it's something that's totally different. Have different highs and lows in the game. Probably have different career paths a lot of the time. Obviously, not really going to come on and change the game for 20 minutes too often as a goalkeeper, or kind of build your way into the game that way. As a striker, I'm guessing you just started on the bench and then maybe like drip fed into games. I feel like as a goalkeeper, you've got to be ready to be thrown in, and how you respond to that is what kind of makes you.
You're either in or out, aren't you?
A lot of the time, yeah. And something that I was I don't know if I was good at it or something, like I've always felt like I always wanted to be ready and I always wanted to train at the top level, because I kind of got dragged out of non-league by Charlton and I used to train with the first team a lot, and I wanted to put so much into that to trying to get up to their level, having come from such a low level, that then I think that carried through my career. So then when I did get a chance, whether that was kind of on loan or in the team, whether that was at Burnley or Charlton or wherever, I felt like I trained at a level where I was giving it my all, and it was just kind of about transferring that into a game. I didn't really feel like thrown into a game where, I'm not ready or what's going to happen here. I was kind of more feel like, obviously, because everyone's nervous, everyone gets some sort of nerves and that different kind of energy because you're thrown into something you've probably not been thrown into before. So for me, like when I went to York, that was my first time playing Football League. So like you're thrown in and you're like, it's uncommon to you. It's like unnatural to you, but you have to, obviously, you kind of really going back to everything you've done previously, and you're relying on kind of your foundation, I suppose, that you've built up from training consistently. That's kind of how I see it, really.
Yeah, I think that's the message. That's the takeaway there. You hear it often, but it is quite difficult to replicate on a daily basis. You often hear managers saying about train the way you expect to play, and then it makes that gap. As you say, you get to a Saturday, it's easier to transfer because you've been doing it all week anyway. It's amazing to hear you say about when you were in York, it was your first time, and because to me, you were an established goalkeeper. You did something that a lot of goalkeepers in my career previously didn't used to do. I was very grateful because obviously I used to have to come back and mark on corners all the time. There was no better feeling than having to come all the way back from being up front to mark. Cross comes in and I hit Pope-EP ball. And it didn't matter. 10 yards out, 12 yards, you would come over the top and all I had to do is shield myself. That was that was something, an ability to be able to command your box, obviously distribution. You kind of dealt with things as a young player. Then it was something where I was looking at thinking, oh, I've not really seen this before in any young keeper. And you knew, I don't want to be that guy that's, oh yeah, I knew you were gonna like, but we knew you had something different, is what I'm saying. You talked about nerves there. Do you still get nervous now, or not really?
I think now probably differently, maybe. Like I get like a buzz, and you get like kind of I don't know if it's a rush, but kind of like that feeling that it's kind of match day, or it's kind of a big moment in the game. And I think I've learned to probably enjoy that through my career more and more. So, like you say about coming for crosses, as a game gets later and later, and maybe you're holding on to something. Obviously, at Burnley, we didn't often win by more than one. So and at York as well, like you wouldn't often win by more than one. So like, if you're holding on to something late in the game, I kind of got to that enjoyment, real enjoyment out of a kind of a high pressure, win or lose situation. Balls come into the box, whether it's shots or, like say, crosses, and you get that chance to kind of just release the pressure off the team. So yeah, when also going back to kind of how that happened at York, and how I kind of came into being that as a goalkeeper, I was just massively encouraged by coach of Charlton at the time, Ben Roberts, who's kind of, he's one that had a big part pulling him out in the non-league in kind of affecting the game, using your kind of frame and your ability to come for crosses, go and do it, and do it, and really test yourself. And then obviously I had Nigel Worthington at the time as the gaffer, who was the same. And I remember, like, if I dropped one, or there was one actually at home to Accrington, which I'll never forget. Like, I came and it didn't go 100%, and they scored. And the first day we might have had the Monday off, and we were in the Tuesday or something, and we're walking onto the training pitch, and I'm thinking, probably the first time, not like I let him down, but the first time where I wish it had gone differently for a goal, maybe. And he just kind of nudged me and saying, like, you're coming for the next one.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I think that freedom and that kind of encouragement for a goalkeeper is massive, and probably any player. But to hear that off, obviously, your manager at a time when we were kind of pushing, it was a big moment in the season, kind of mid-April. It's just everything you kind of want to hear for a goalkeeper. So I think that how you mould into the goalkeeper you got to be is massively about, or is a big part about, the voices around you and who you listen to, and kind of your own thoughts off that, really.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thought. 'Cause I'm pretty sure, but at that time as well, I used to tell you to come for absolutely everything. But like you said, it was fantastic for the team, and like you said, something it demoralizes attacks as well. When people are building up attack, get a set piece, and it's like all the momentum's building up for them to have a chance, and they put it in, and it's not even a bad cross. It's sort of 8 yards out, and the keeper comes and gets it. All of a sudden, their heads change and their body language change. And obviously, I always talk about negative chains in football and how it affects some people. And your team then becomes on the up because your goalkeeper's come and got a cross, which seems sort of maybe easy for fans watching, but I know how difficult that is as a goalkeeper. And I think you were exceptional at that, and commanding your box. And it's something you still do now, that makes such a difference. Talk there about sort of Nigel Worthington and his words to you there. How much, or how difficult is it sort of like to keep that level of confidence as a goalkeeper if you do make a mistake? Because often if you make a mistake as a keeper, it's a goal. Whereas as a forward or a winger, if I make a mistake, there's still, 9 people behind me that can stop it from ending up in the back of the net.
Yeah. Something that with experience helps, I'd say, but you've just got, I think you have to be good at kind of throwing it away and just kind of, yeah, it's happened, wish it didn't, but it has, and just like carrying on, I suppose. Someone always remember there was something about, you don't have to have a bad game. You don't really have bad games. You can have a bad moment, and everyone has a bad moment in every part of the pitch. So it's about kind of responding to that, and seeing it as a challenge. I think was quite useful for myself. Is like, look, you've made a mistake. Everyone on the ground knows it. everyone on the pitch knows it, but how you respond to that and showing that kind of character, which is kind of similar to kind of coming off your line for a cross that's 10 yards, 12 yards, that maybe you don't have to try and collect the ball. Show that character of, kind of what are you made of. Like, everyone's seen it, everyone knows it. The game's still half hour to go, an hour to go maybe. Can you still kind of have a positive impact and have a positive outcome and have the mindset to, still affect the game?
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant way of looking at it. And I know for a fact that it will blow a lot of people's minds. I feel a bit sorry for keepers. We never really get to understand the mindset as much. Everyone talks about players and, oh, he feels this, and people do get left to the side a little bit. One thing I will say
What
is,
would not annoy me more or disappoint me, but is like, so you could be that guy, drops one, and there's a goal, and then maybe 10 minutes later a corner comes in and you stay on your line, and you should have come for it, or there's a through ball comes through and you should come for it, but you stay on your line because you've, in your head, you don't want to, you're tense and you don't want to make that next mistake kind of thing. I think you have to free yourself from that and realise that is detrimental to yourself, because you're not showing yourself and it's detrimental to the team. So I think difficult, 100%, it's not easy, but you realise that, moments and moving on to the next one, and still, the game to play.
Yeah, moments. I think it's what defines and it's the difference between top players and sort of players that don't quite make it. Because you have those moments as a player, as an outfield player, giving you that experience. It's the same thing. You could receive the ball, give it away, they have a shot, chance at goal, you sort of looking at you've got to keep that. A lot of players then, which you would have experienced it before, all of a sudden then don't want the ball. They stop for it. They might be in the midfield and they should be dropping down to receive it off a defender, because they've given away the last one and it almost cost a goal, or it did cost a goal. Now they're not coming to receive the ball. And it's about having that level of confidence in yourself. And as you mentioned there, sort of compartmentalizing it and saying, you know what, this is only going to hurt me. I'm going to keep showing. And that's when you often see the difference between the top players. They keep doing the things that bring them success or are helping the team, regardless of whether it's gone wrong for them or not. So, that's good insight. I'm learning stuff here as well. I would ask a bit of a sort of a playful question, really. Who in your career, somebody on your team or off your team, have you sort of had a bit of a rivalry with? Because I know in my experience, like Robert Sanchez, goalkeepers and players always have a bit of a rivalry.
Yeah.
Robert Sanchez, we always used to have a thing, even in training, he would try extra 10%. And if he did, he'd get up and celebrate and like stuff. Who's been that person for you in your career?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I do kind of, you get a buzz as a goalkeeper. So you don't score many goals. Like, you get a buzz of like annoying people, basically, and annoying strikers and whoever it may be. And it's like, if it's one you should score and you don't, and maybe it hits you and you get a bit lucky and it goes wide, you get a real kind of satisfaction over that sort of thing. I remember at Burnley, there was always a Friday group of shooting. It would just be a ping from the a ping from the byline, keep the ball outside the box, and it's a touch and a finish, like base it. But like, the sports science guy is dragging us in because like no one wants to stop. Like, the goalies are still there, and the lads are just still firing shots off.
Yeah,
and you just get a lot of enjoyment out of like. They'll give it back, and they'll give it to you like as soon as a couple go in. Oh, is anyone in there? Oh, who stole his hands? Like, all of this, like, and I think that's a thing about football that is great, and you have to learn to deal with it and give it back, and kind of it creates camaraderie. It creates kind of a competitive edge. Which I think is great for kind of learning and growing. So it's just I remember them kind of days at Burnley. It kind of be Ashley Barnes and Woody, Right, Charlie Taylor, left back. Like, it wouldn't matter where you played. Like, the queue Sundays, Kevin Long, the queue would be 15 deep Sundays. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, good times and a good way to go into the game on the weekend, I think.
Everybody wants to score against Popey.
Uh,
I mean, there's the saying, iron sharpens iron. Definitely something in football when you have a team full of good players that are always pushing each other, whether it's sort of banter or whatever, but they're still pushing your abilities. You're only ever going to get better and increase from having that type of relationship within the team. This is a difficult question for you. Who would you say is your sort of, not your best teammate, but who's the best player you've played with throughout your career, been in your team? Somebody you just look at and just think he's other, like he's.
he's top.
Oh, you're going to have a lot of friends over this one.
Yeah, true. I don't want to split it into departments, because when I first went to Charlton, we had like Jan Kermigant who came in, and he was like unbelievable player. Like, I think he's only on a free from Leicester, and like he's just an unbelievable technician. He was like built like a fridge, like unbelievable touch, like just top player in training. Like, he could hit the ball like an absolute rocket. So just someone in training as a goalkeeper, you're like, I hope he's on our team. Like, do you know what I mean? And then Burnley, like, it's Stephen Defoe kind of came my second season, and one of the people you like give him the ball and the team kind of ticks. Like, he's someone that could change the game or run the game kind of for you, if you like. So I think they're two from kind of earlier on, and then I don't feel like I can pick the lads who I'm here now with.
Yeah, I'm not trying to cause any problems.
Nah, okay. I'll be knocking on this door in a minute. And obviously, England-wise, like, Kane has to be up there, because the amount of finishing sessions I'd have done with him, where he's absolutely peppered me. I'm sure he was drawing up the sessions at some point, so he could just weight them in his favour, or like, just so like there'd be a drill, but it'd be like 4 finishes in one go. Do you know what I mean? And then it'd be like, we'll do it for half hour, and all of a sudden you face 200 shots, and he's absolutely ruthless. So on goalie wise, I think he'd be up there. Like John Stones on the other end, like some of the defensive stuff you kind of watch and you think, like, another level. And then like Phil Foden and probably Jude as well, Bellingham. Like, when a player comes into the group for the first time, I'd have been there when they'd come into the first time, and you kind of think, like, what a player! Like, how can you come into an England group and be as young as they are, and then just affect training and just like make it look like you've just done 100 sessions? Do you know what I mean? Straight away. So I think there are a couple could kind of come to mind.
Yeah, I think they, as you mentioned, they're stepping into sort of a whole different realm of football. It doesn't seem to phase them at all, does it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like another day.
Another day,
another game in the park. Just cracking on, yeah, which is great. Like, and I think getting into England squad for myself, you kind of realise the characters and the mentality you need to get to that level, and the difference between there and then maybe the training back at the club, or just difference in people almost. Like, that when I got to England, I felt like everyone thought they were a top player.
Yeah,
everyone trained like, yeah, I'm a top player. And that mentality, you kind of, when you've been there for the first time, you kind of opened your eyes to like, right, like, I think getting to England squad is great for yourself, like, and great on a personal level. Not only the fact you're in the England squad, but then you get to learn off England players and England staff, and you get to kind of take that back to your club with you.
Yeah, I think I always used to look at, it's what I'm fascinated about, and it's part of the reason why I'm doing this channel as well, is the mindset, the small, subtle nuances that allow people to go to a different level in their career. I always think back to Nathaniel Klein when he came through at Crystal Palace when I was there, and when he jumped into the first from the youth team, he wasn't really fazed by it all. Everyone was sort of, congratulations, and he was just very chilled out about it. Wasn't really bothered. It was the same thing I could definitely say the same as Wilf as well. Wilfred Zaha was the same. When Kleiny started then playing for England, people were like, "Bro, you're playing for England." And again, it wasn't something that phased him, and I think that just allowed him to repeat the same level of performance that he's been putting out, because all of this noise has
Yeah.
not affected him. And I think that's something you sort of mentioned about there. And then you always have that line of confidence when you're talking about the England players. They all believe they could play. They all understand their roles. There's that fine line, obviously, between confidence and sort of arrogance. But for me, you've been somebody, Popey, you can say what you want about this, but you've had such enormous levels of success, but you've always stayed very grounded. You've always been somebody I can tackle at a normal level. You never have sort of ascended to a level where you sort of feel you're too big for anyone. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a very admirable thing and quality to have that not a lot of people have got.
I think like as a goalkeeper, like always think it must be different for a striker, because like you score 20 goals in the Premier League one season, you're gonna get chances and do that again, or you kind of that level, I suppose, of player. I'm not sure. And as a striker, it can be seen as a good thing that you've got that arrogance and you've got that kind of belief you have to score every time you get on the pitch. Whereas, like as a goalkeeper, I feel like that could end up eating you up, and that could like you start telling other people you're this and you're that, and you start believing that you're this good at that, and you're that good at this, and then all of a sudden you're going to make a mistake because everyone makes a mistake, and then where are you within yourself at that point? Because you've told someone you're this good, or you've said you believe you're this good, and then now other people aren't believing that, or do you really believe that? So I kind of try and, like I say, stay kind of level-headed and grounded, because however good things are going, maybe they're not actually going that good. And however bad things are going, maybe they're probably not even going that bad. So it's kind of, I think, kind of a central line of like a goalkeeper that I think if I was talking to younger lads, that's something that I would advise. I'm sure, like obviously, like everyone's different in life and in football, but you wouldn't have to listen to that. But it's something that I think has stood me in good stead.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I want it to be people be able to come on here and say, listen to what you've had to say and take something from what you've had to say. I think that's very interesting because, believe it or not, I know a lot of goalkeepers are very much the opposite. I'm one of the best keepers on earth. Like, okay, we're gonna see. But I do think it is about everybody's different, and it's about finding what works for you. And like, as you mentioned there, sort of you have that middle ground where you don't let anything go too far, don't let anything go too below. Work that medium, I guess, as it will. Talking of which, you are a very good penalty saver. I mean, anyway, but penalties, you're probably one of the only people to save an Ivan Toney penalty in the last.
Yeah, I think there's one more, only one in the Premier League, I think, at the minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time he gets one now, unless I'm in, like I'm cheering him on now.
Talk us through that, because I think I spoke on here the other day and was talking to Wilf about sort of penalties from a player's perspective, and there's me talking about confidence there. That was something I always used to do. I've never missed a penalty in my professional career, and it was always a thing of when I'm going up to take a penalty, I'm trying to build myself up. Right, it doesn't matter where the keeper goes. You've done this a million times. I've taken this penalty 10 times in my living room, in my garden. Like, you know what I mean? And it was trying to fight myself into just don't forget all of this. This is all you. From a goalkeeper's perspective, how does that play out?
I think you're thinking, just what can I do to keep the ball out of the net? I think the situation is obviously weighted against you, like being a penalty. So the expectations obviously are quite low. Probably helps that on the internet I'm 6'1". Do you know what I mean? So maybe they look up and they think, oh, he's a bit bigger than I thought.
The goal looks tiny, brother.
Yeah. Obviously, like things like that. Like, obviously, you want the crowd as loud as possible. You want to make the goal look as small as possible, and then like have full belief that going to save it, I suppose. I feel like I've got a bit of that, really. Look, I feel like wherever he goes, wherever the ball goes, like I've got a great chance, really, and I'm in the game. Probably because I always used to think that's like weirdest thing at Burnley. I think like it's like Christmas or something you do every year. But we go away to Man City and we get peppered, right? We got 5-5-0 a couple of years in a row, and the next year we'd turn up, and I'd feel like we're in it today, like we've got a chance.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know what you call that, but I don't know if it's because I'm a last line defence being in goal and just I want us to have a chance, or I felt like if I'm on a day that the other team aren't going to score and like we'll nick something. But I kind of always had that, I suppose it's similar to belief and similar to going to Man City, I always had that belief that, you got a chance of, getting something out of it.
Something. Well, Popey, I would say the definition of insanity is doing the same over and over again and expecting a different. No, as a football player or somebody in any sport, you have to have that belief. You have to believe that you're going to win a game of football and that you are, exceptional at what you do. Otherwise, no point. You won't achieve anything. And I think, as we talked before about habits, I think your habits help you build that level of confidence where you're doing all the right. I often talk to young professionals, guys I sort of mentor and stuff like that, about, building habits. Not about nowadays the things you put on social media showing people that you're training and working out. It's the stuff that you're doing that people don't see that will, in the end, create success for you. It's you, like I mentioned before, waking up and going through your regime, going through training and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't need to be, everyone now wants to publicize everything, but it doesn't need to be that. That's the stuff that is going to build, as you about the core of your successes in your career, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like on that the more I've worked and the more I've sacrificed, the more confidence that will give me off the back of that. So obviously, this situation when we come back from injury, I sacrificed so much time, so much energy, like sacrifice spending time with people to spend time with myself, and like it's kind of the same. Like when you do an off season, like you could just sit on the beach for 6 weeks and do nothing.
Yeah.
You sacrifice time where your free time to give yourself the best chance of coming back in good shape, better than you've been before, to produce kind of better performances. I think that's a big thing about it. Like as a footballer, it is. You could come in at 5 to 10 and a day, and you could leave the building at 12 or 1 at some clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could live your life like that. You could literally do that, go home, go on PlayStation, like go for a walk, you do anything you want, and live your life like after football. But if you create the habit, or you are coming in at 8:30 and having breakfast at 9, and then doing like sometimes the smallest of things, but then doing it consistently, and then doing that consistently over a long period of time, I just think it almost builds you up to like, I've got that behind me, like, and that kind of gives you confidence in that way, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You've literally just hit it on the nose, really, because it's about, as you said, I think it does build internal confidence, because it's like, you've had to do to get to this point, or to build yourself. So it's now then time for you to sort of go and show it. How would you feel sort of over the course of your career with all the loan moves you've had? What was some of the stuff that you think you picked up from sort of playing in the EFL, some of the experiences? What's the difference between the EFL and the Premier League? Is it game or?
Yeah, different. You learn that there's more touches in the EFL, 100%. I remember when I started playing Premier League football, I thought, well, am I going to get a kick here? I remember when I was going to League Two or sometimes Championship or wherever, like any free kick from the halfway line, like coming in the box. You know what I mean? Like you always felt like the ball is going to be within your area, like, and you're going to have a decision to make, like, quickly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go to the Premier League and it's like 100 passes and another 100 passes, and like you're just watching the ball like side to side, and it's like a different kind of mentality. But at the same time, decisions have to be better, have to be quicker. The ball and the speed of the people is quicker. The ball speed's quicker. So just everything kind of goes up in that regard. But I think the best thing about going on loan is just the experience you get behind you. So then when you do get a chance at the next level up, is you've got that kind of behind you to kind of lean on. I think that's a big thing. Like for myself, I just wanted to go. I started on loan 2 below the conference at Harrow Borough, and so that would be 1 below the conference north, conference south, and I just wanted to prove that I could play in the next level above. Like I wasn't worried about Charlton in League One. I just wanted to prove that I'm not too good for this level, but I can hold myself and I'm good enough for the next level. So when I went back to Charlton, I'd have that behind me to go on to the next loan, and then go on the next loan, Welling in the Conference South or Cambridge in the Conference, Aldershot in the Conference, and then I'm thinking about what do I need to do to affect this game to prove that I'm more than good enough for this level to then go to the next level. And I suppose you're always kind of challenging yourself and you're never letting yourself get comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's very good. You've gone like stage by stage and progressed and progressed. You've seen a lot of football and the differences in between the leagues, and then being able to hit the height, play national as well. I think it's been a career path. By no means anywhere near finished, by the way, Popey. Looking forward and ahead to Saturday, how do you feel about the start of the season? Like you said, everything that you've been through, you're going to get out there. You're at home as well at St James's Park. The noise is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
How much do you feel like you might appreciate this more now because of the last few months?
Yeah, 100%. I was speaking to someone about this the other day about just the first game of the season kind of feeling on just having that, I don't know, whatever the feel is in the air kind of, and just the fact that the season's starting again. So I think it's a special day kind of regardless, because it is, the start of the season, the start of a new journey, if you like. But obviously, yeah, from my point of view, like I'll have a new sense, or I already feel like I've got a new sense of gratitude from having that kind of taken away from me, and having the long days away from the pitch and a long time away from the pitch. That now it'll be my first game at St James's. That's obviously a league game, so I played there in the friendly last week. But yeah, it'll be my first league game at St James's since December. So yeah, looking forward to obviously having that feeling again.
Really excited for you. One little thing you talked about there before, and you're talking about making the goal big when you say penalties and stuff. I know from experience as a player, when you're lacking in confidence and things aren't quite on your way, or you haven't played for a long time, sometimes you look at the goal and it seems tiny.
Yeah,
Feel like that as a goalkeeper. Sometimes, like if your things are not going, do you feel like the goal's massive and like
goal's massive. I think no, and like maybe sometimes like I always remember you might go for a stage in like a season or a period of time where you feel like the other teams had 3 shots and they've scored 2, and or a ball comes in the box, it hits both posts and then it comes out and the guy taps it in, or you make like a really good save and then the next one like they put in the rebound and you feel like it's just not quite going for you. Obviously it's just part of football and happens, and kind of probably hopefully makes you appreciate, when you get lucky with one and one just goes over, or one hits the post and does go out, and then they do get a penalty and you save it. It kind of makes you kind of appreciate them kind of things in football that are kind of out of your control, and obviously can have an effect on you mentally, really, or can affect you in different ways, but are always just going to be variables that are part of the game.
Of course, and I think in any position really, and any sport, not even sport, in anything, it's about understanding. Probably you can only control the controllables, can't you? And there's things that are going to be out of your hands that you can't then allow to affect sort of your mental state, because they're things that you couldn't do any better. Getting towards the end, Pope, you can go soon, mate.
Good.
What you listen to at the moment, music wise?
Oh, you've asked the wrong person here. Like, I don't know how to describe my music, but I'm just happy-go-lucky. Like, I'll just float, anything. Like, and if there's a playlist, like, I'll like we have a playlist where everyone just puts music on and like that's in the dressing room. But like, I'm just happy, like, just whack it on as long as there's like, I don't know, it's not like deep like techno or house where there's like boom and like no words and stuff like that. I think I'm pretty relaxed about it, if I'm honest. Like, I'm not been to like many I've been to a few concerts and like never been to like a festival or anything. Like, I think I'd just get in the way of the people stood behind me. I think I'd be a nightmare.
If I go to a festival where you're stood in front of me, I want my money back. Look at the back of this guy's head for an hour.
Oh, rubbish.
Madness. Did you have a type of genre that you're into, or not really, or just not really?
I sung Notorious B.I.G. Juicy as my I sung it. I rapped for my initiation at Newcastle. So
I'm not gonna get a rendition of that.
No, I don't think you're audition, but I just remember, like, see, when you come to a club, you know it's coming,
Yes.
and I'd always like half knew the words for the song because we just remember when I was at college, there's like a few of us. It was just always on, and we'd always put it on as a bit of like a song that would remind me of a song we kind of had at college that brings back them sort of memories. And and I was just like, as I signed for him, and I was on holiday. I signed for Newcastle, and I was back on holiday, and I had like another couple of weeks, and I thought, I'm just gonna go for it. Like, I feel like it'll be. There's a 6'6" goalie, like, he's just come in the building, and then you're gonna just think no one's gonna expect it. So I just thought, I'll put a couple of weeks practice in. I'll nail the words, and then like we're in like this big kind of log cabin style restaurant in like the hills in Switzerland or Austria, and the lads were tinging the glasses, and Sven Botman went before me, and he sung like Three Little Birds. Like, everyone's clapping, everyone's singing along, and I just felt my mouth just went really dry, and I thought, oh, it's a terrible idea. What am I doing? And then I just stood up and just thought, if this goes Pete Tong, it goes Pete Tong. But yeah, luckily surprised a few, and I got a nice round of applause. So.
I was thinking they're some of the best moments, and again, it's something about sort of confidence and in integrating players into embedding players into a squad is fantastic. I used to sing. I had loads of different songs. The problem was people didn't really realise I was a bit of a showman. Would be on to me. Oh, Calv, you've got to sing at dinner. Yeah. People that know me are like, he does this on his own.
Don't worry about him. Yeah.
Not fussed about this at all. And I'd stand up. Sometimes I'd be the one that stands on the chair to do it, and they'd be like, "Doing? Yeah, I'm not bothered by this."
Yeah. Let's get it out of the way. That's good experience when you go first. I think I've realised that's good experience off the back of that experience.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it is something that I really think is good to keep sort of in and around football. That people do that all the time. I shall, Popey, let you go. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on once again, sharing your views and thoughts. I know for a fact that there'll be loads of stuff that people will take away from this positive, especially for some of the things you mentioned. Last question before if you could give advice to yourself, a younger Nick Pope coming into football, what are some of the pitfalls and how would you navigate those? Like, if you could tell yourself something as a young, what would you tell yourself?
I would say, from a goalkeeper point of view, I think I'll probably easy to say, but kind of mould yourself into the goalkeeper you want to be. So whether you look at other goalkeepers and you like the way they take crosses or the way they kick a ball or the way, they play their game, I think you should always look to kind of, you take bits from them and try it in training and try and build yourself. Just see yourself as like a small Lego set or whatever you want to say, and just building little bricks at a time. And it might be new techniques, something you've never done before, but you think that would make you better. And just trying it in training and kind of building it into your game and kind of moulding yourself and rounding yourself into kind of a more complete goalkeeper. So I think that's kind of how I'd see it. And obviously listening to your coaches, but I don't want to say listen to your coaches and don't listen to your coaches, but
I know.
listen, you know what I mean? Like because in life and in football you can't listen to everyone. So kind of take responsibility for who you want to be, and obviously listen to people you trust and take into consideration that. But at the end of the day, like as a goalkeeper, if you don't become the goalkeeper you want to be, you have to take responsibility from that. It's not, oh well, this goalkeeper coach told me not to do this, or this manager told me not to do this, because you'll come across people that maybe don't agree with the way you do certain things. But I think you've got to take responsibility, and you've got to be the goalkeeper you want to be, and that's how you end up kind of enjoying the process and the journey.
Yeah, I think as you tried to touch on there about sort of listening to your coaches, but also remaining who you are and having that level of individuality in the way you approach the game or see the game to still be able to have your own sort of influence on your own career rather than
Of course. You have to respect the coaches and like the careers they've had, and what they're saying is coming from a good place.
Mm.
And then just on the flip side of that is kind of like I say, I think you have to be true to yourself and how you want to play the game.
Yeah. I lied. It's not the last question.
Found a new one.
Last one after that, because what you spoke to was very good. I always firm believer in sort of every day you're learning, you're growing. You're never too old to learn something new and keep growing and keep evolving, I guess is the way of putting it. What is Nick Pope working on at the moment? What are you trying to improve at the
Oh,
moment? Difficult.
that's a good one. I don't know if I want to say kind of everything, because, and as a goalkeeper or as a player, I always think you should look for ways to improve. And it doesn't have to be on a training pitch for 6 hours. Like maybe, you might read some books, or you might do analysis. I think that's something that's brought my game on a lot. I remember I'd be at York City and I get a DVD of the 90 minutes and I'd watch the 90 minutes because I was in a B&B round the corner from the ground.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
I would watch myself and so you're learning not just by training or by playing. You're watching, you're learning in different ways. So I think that that's something that is useful.
Yeah, I think it's basically looking at all the different variables, how you can improve, like you said, whether it's watching your own footage back, watching other people, like you said, taking other things from other people and all that kind of stuff, and building your ideal version of who you want to be. I think it's been a very informative chat, Popey. I appreciate you coming. I wish you all the success. Keep doing what you're doing. Anytime you want to come back on here, please feel free to come back on, because I know for a fact people are going to if you want to come back here and hear from your stuff. So we'll keep in contact, no doubt. Anyway, when you're down in London, any of the London clubs you're going to, I almost know 100% my old man's going to want to come and watch. So I'll be off.
100%. 100%. There's loads of London teams in the Premier League. Don't worry. 100%.
There you go. And yeah, I'm working pretty much every Saturday. I'm doing the Total Sport BBC Squad Goals with everyone across the EFL. But in the week, if there's any times, I'll defo pop up and try and catch some of your games. But it's been a pleasure as always.
Pleasure to have you.
Thanks very much for coming on. And that's been another episode of the Unpressables. Everybody, stay safe, keep learning, keep evolving. See you later.